Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, dark chasm. You lean forward, staring into the depths, searching for meaning in the shadows. But as you look, something looks back. A force, an idea, a truth so unsettling that it threatens to consume you. Have you ever felt this way? As if the more you try to understand the darkness within yourself, within the world, the more it pulls you in. Today, we will explore one of Friedrich Nietzsche's most haunting and powerful warnings: the abyss. What does it mean to truly gaze into the abyss? What dangers does it hold? And how can we navigate the thin line between self-discovery and self-destruction? By the end of this journey, you will not only understand Nietzsche's words, but see how they apply to your own life in ways you may have never imagined. Think about your darkest moments, the struggles, the fears, the pain. Have you ever felt like you were losing yourself in them? Nietzsche's words are not just poetic philosophy, they are a psychological reality. The abyss is not just an external force, it is inside us, waiting for us to look too long, to lose ourselves in its endless depth. But what is the abyss? Is it despair? Is it the chaos of the world? Is it the painful truths we try to ignore? To understand this, we must first understand Nietzsche himself. Friedrich Nietzsche was not just a philosopher. He was a man who stared into the abyss his entire life. He questioned morality, society, even reality itself. His ideas challenged the very foundation of human existence. And they still resonate today because they force us to confront what we often avoid. To gaze into the abyss is to seek truth, but it is also to risk losing oneself. Many great minds throughout history have faced this dilemma. Think of artists who lost themselves in their creations, thinkers who went mad searching for ultimate knowledge, leaders who, in their quest for power, became the very monsters they once opposed. The abyss does not discriminate. It consumes anyone who dares look too long without understanding the consequences. But here's the real question. How do you face darkness without becoming it? How do you confront your fears, your pain, your struggles, without allowing them to define you? There is an ancient truth in this paradox. Growth requires confrontation. If you avoid the abyss, you live in ignorance. If you stare too long, you risk being devoured. The key lies in balance. Nietzsche was not warning us to avoid struggle. He was warning us to remain conscious while engaging with it. The abyss is seductive. When life is difficult, when injustice surrounds us, when our own minds feel like a battlefield, it is easy to fall into the trap of resentment, of cynicism, of destruction. We fight monsters, but in doing so, we risk becoming them. The very thing we oppose can become part of us if we do not recognize the transformation taking place. Take a moment and reflect. Have you ever been so consumed by anger that you became no different from the thing you were angry at? Have you ever been so lost in grief that it became your identity? Have you ever fought against something only to realize later that you had absorbed its darkness into yourself? This is why Nietzsche's warning is so profound. It is not just about external enemies, it is about the battle within. The abyss is not merely out there, it is inside you, inside all of us. And the more you engage with it unconsciously, the more power it gains over you. But here's where things get even more interesting. Nietzsche did not believe in avoiding struggle. He did not advocate for running from hardship. On the contrary, he saw struggle as essential for growth. His concept of the Übermensch, the overman, was a call for humanity to rise above limitations, to transform suffering into strength, and to create meaning where none exists. But to do that, one must face the abyss, not as a passive observer, but as an active force, shaping it instead of being shaped by it. So if avoiding the abyss entirely is not the answer, and getting lost in it is dangerous, what is the solution? What is the mindset that allows one to confront darkness without being consumed? This is where we dive deeper, where we uncover the truth hidden within Nietzsche's words, a truth that could change the way you view yourself and the world forever. If the abyss is inevitable, if every human mind will at some point confront its darkness, then the question becomes, how do we emerge from it stronger rather than broken? The answer lies in awareness. Nietzsche was not merely warning us about external struggles, he was showing us something about the nature of consciousness itself. To stare into the abyss is to seek truth, to challenge assumptions, to break away from comforting illusions. But the moment we do this, we open ourselves to the risk of despair. Many people who embark on this journey, questioning morality, society, even their own identity, find themselves disoriented, as if the ground beneath them has disappeared. This is the first danger of gazing into the abyss, the loss of meaning. When you deconstruct everything you once believed, what is left? Many philosophers, writers, and seekers of truth have faced this crisis. If nothing has inherent meaning, if morality is just a construct, if the universe is indifferent, then what stops us from falling into nihilism? Nihilism is the greatest threat Nietzsche saw in modern society. It is the complete rejection of meaning, a belief that nothing matters, that all efforts are futile. And here is where many people misunderstand Nietzsche. They think he promoted nihilism, but in reality, he feared it. He saw it as a sickness, a collapse of the human spirit. When people fall into nihilism, they become passive, cynical, even destructive. They lose the will to create, to grow, to fight for something greater than themselves. And yet, Nietzsche believed this collapse was necessary. Why? Because only by destroying old illusions can we build something real. He called this process the revaluation of values, a radical re-examination of everything we believe in. It is painful, it is terrifying, but it is also the only way to truly live. So the second danger of gazing into the abyss is this: the temptation to stop halfway. Some people reach the edge of nihilism and retreat, running back to comforting illusions. Others fall into despair, never moving forward. But the true path, according to Nietzsche, is to go through it, to confront the void, and then create new meaning on the other side. Think about moments in your own life when everything seemed to collapse, when your beliefs were shattered, when the world no longer made sense, when you questioned everything. What did you do? Did you retreat? Did you surrender? Or did you build something new from the ruins? This is where Nietzsche's most powerful idea comes in: the Übermensch. The Overman is the one who does not fall into the abyss, nor does he run from it. He transforms it. Instead of being destroyed by struggle, he uses it as fuel. He takes suffering and turns it into strength. He creates his own values rather than accepting the ones given to him by society. He does not seek approval, does not follow the herd. He becomes the master of his own existence. This is the real challenge Nietzsche presents us. Will we be passive victims of the abyss, or will we use it to become something greater? To understand this, let us look at some of history's greatest minds. Consider Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust. He faced the abyss in its purest form, the brutality of a world that had abandoned all morality. And yet, in the depths of suffering, he found meaning. He realized that even in the most horrific circumstances, human beings have the power to choose their response. His book, Man's Search for Meaning, is a testament to Nietzsche's idea that those who have a strong why can endure almost any how. Or take Carl Jung, the great psychologist who expanded on Nietzsche's insights. Jung believed that every person has a shadow, the hidden darker parts of themselves. He warned that those who refuse to face their own darkness will be controlled by it. But those who confront their shadow consciously, who integrate it rather than suppress it, gain a deep and powerful wisdom. So how does this apply to you? Look at your own life. Where is the abyss in your world? Is it in your fears, your traumas, your doubts? Is it in the problems of society, those that seem too overwhelming to fix? And when you look at it, what do you do? Do you avoid it? Do you let it consume you? Or do you use it as a tool to grow? Nietzsche's warning is clear. Do not stare into the abyss without purpose. But his deeper lesson is even more important. Do not fear the abyss. It is only by engaging with the deepest struggles of life that we develop true strength. The overman is not someone who avoids pain. It is someone who transforms it into power. This brings us to the most important question of all. How? How do we walk this path without being destroyed by it? How do we confront darkness and emerge stronger rather than broken? The answer lies in the final piece of Nietzsche's puzzle, the idea that will change everything you think you know about struggle, suffering, and meaning. The key to emerging stronger from the abyss, to avoiding its destruction, and instead using it as a means for growth, lies in what Nietzsche called amor fati. This Latin phrase translates to love of fate, and it is one of the most profound and transformative concepts in Nietzsche's philosophy. What does it mean to love fate? It means embracing everything in life, both the joy and the suffering, as something to be accepted, not resisted. Nietzsche proposed that true strength is found not in avoiding life's hardships, but in loving them. To love fate means to stop seeing hardship as something to endure, something to escape. Instead, you see it as an opportunity for growth, as a necessary part of your journey toward greatness. Think for a moment. How do you typically view challenges in your life? Do you see them as burdens to bear, obstacles that must be avoided at all costs? Or do you see them as opportunities, moments that shape you, refine you, and bring you closer to the person you are meant to become? Nietzsche argued that only by embracing our struggles, by loving the difficulties we face, can we fully step into our power. This does not mean we passively accept injustice, suffering, or cruelty. It means we accept the fact that life is a series of challenges and hardships, and our task is not to avoid them, but to learn from them, grow through them, and ultimately transcend them. In this way, amor fati is not just a passive resignation to fate. It is an active embrace of the totality of life. It is saying, yes, I will not only endure this, but I will love it, because it is part of who I am becoming. This perspective shifts your entire relationship with the world and yourself. Imagine that you are facing a major setback in your life. Perhaps you lost your job. Perhaps you suffered a deep personal loss. Or maybe you were faced with a major failure. In the conventional mindset, these events are seen as tragedies, as things that should be avoided at all costs. But with amor fati, you shift your perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what can I learn from this? How will this challenge make me stronger, wiser, or more compassionate? This mindset is powerful because it transforms you from a victim of circumstance to a creator of your own fate. When you stop resisting life's inevitable challenges and instead embrace them, you stop being at the mercy of the abyss. You become its master, shaping your response, turning suffering into strength. But there is an even deeper truth behind amor fati, a truth that Nietzsche reveals at the heart of his philosophy, the idea of eternal recurrence. Nietzsche proposed that, in a sense, life is an eternal cycle. Everything that has happened will happen again, infinitely. This idea can be overwhelming at first, even terrifying. But Nietzsche believed that, in order to fully embrace life, one must be willing to live it over and over again, exactly as it is, without wishing it were different. Imagine that you could relive your entire life, every joy, every pain, every success, every failure, every moment of suffering, over and over again, for eternity. Would you accept it? Would you love your life, even in its darkest moments, knowing that it is all part of your unique journey? Nietzsche asked this question because he believed that, to truly embrace life, we must be willing to affirm it in its entirety, not just the parts we like, but the parts that challenge and shape us. This idea of eternal recurrence forces us to confront our relationship with life. Are we living authentically, fully, and without regret? Or are we merely going through the motions, waiting for something better, something easier? Nietzsche's challenge is clear. If you cannot embrace your life in its entirety, including the struggles and the pain, then you are not truly living. You are merely existing. And this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the most important revelation that will change the way you understand the abyss, the darkness, and your place in the world. Nietzsche believed that the abyss is not something to fear or avoid. It is something to be transformed. It is the place where the deepest truths about ourselves are found. It is the place where we must confront our own weaknesses, limitations, and fears in order to rise above them. But the final revelation is this: you are the creator of your own meaning. Nietzsche rejected traditional ideas of morality, religion, and societal norms. He believed that humans have the power to create their own values, to define their own purpose, to shape their own destiny. The abyss, in this sense, is not something that holds power over you. It is a canvas for you to paint your own life. And this is the ultimate freedom. The freedom to create meaning where there is none, to find strength in suffering, and to shape your destiny according to your own will. When you embrace the abyss, when you look deeply into the darkness and see it not as something to be afraid of, but as a tool for growth, you unlock the greatest power within yourself, the power to become who you truly are. As you reflect on Nietzsche's words, ask yourself, what is the abyss in your own life? Where have you been afraid to look? And what would it take for you to embrace your struggles, your suffering, your fears, and transform them into something greater? To truly embrace the idea of the abyss as a source of transformation, we must step back and ask the ultimate question: what does it mean to live a fully realized life? Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or overman, was not just an abstract philosophical idea. It was a call to action for each individual to transcend their current state, to overcome limitations, and to create new values, free from the constraints of society and tradition. The overman does not exist in isolation. He is a reflection of the human potential, the pinnacle of self-actualization. And what is the key to reaching this state? It lies in the acceptance of life's harshest truths and the strength to create meaning despite the suffering. The abyss, in this context, represents the threshold we must cross in order to become who we truly are meant to be. It's a mirror that forces us to see ourselves not as we wish to be, but as we truly are. And it is in confronting that truth that we gain the power to change, to evolve, and to build something entirely new. However, there is another, deeper layer to this process. The abyss does not just challenge us from the outside, it challenges us from within. It forces us to confront not only the darkness of the world, but the darkness within our own psyche. Every person carries their own shadow, the unconscious part of themselves that holds their deepest fears, desires, and flaws. To gaze into the abyss is to confront that shadow head-on. And it is this confrontation that allows us to integrate these hidden aspects of ourselves, to understand them, and to use them in a constructive way. But here's the catch. The abyss doesn't simply disappear once you look into it. It doesn't fade away when you confront your fears. Instead, it becomes part of you. Your shadow does not vanish. It becomes a part of your self-awareness. The moment you stop running from the darkness, you stop being controlled by it. You own it. You integrate it into your life. You begin to understand that the very things that once scared you, that once seemed like weaknesses or burdens, are actually essential parts of your growth. This idea is echoed in Carl Jung's work on the integration of the shadow. Jung, who was deeply influenced by Nietzsche's philosophy, argued that personal transformation could only occur when we accept and embrace the darker aspects of our psyche. By doing so, we take away the power that these hidden aspects have over us. Instead of suppressing our desires, fears, or anger, we learn to acknowledge them, understand them, and transform them into tools for personal empowerment. In a way, the abyss serves as a mirror to our inner world. The deeper we look into it, the clearer we see ourselves, not just in our moments of strength, but also in our moments of vulnerability. And it is only through this clarity that we can begin to shape our lives with true intention and purpose. One of the most powerful examples of this comes from the lives of those who have faced unimaginable suffering, yet emerged stronger because of it. Consider the lives of people like Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of the Holocaust and went on to create a revolutionary approach to psychology, logotherapy. Frankl, like Nietzsche, believed that the most profound human experience is the ability to find meaning in suffering. His philosophy was built on the idea that even in the most horrific circumstances, we can still choose how we respond. Frankl's work teaches us that suffering, far from being something to avoid, can be a source of profound personal growth. It is through embracing our struggles, rather than running from them, that we find meaning in life. The abyss does not only exist in personal suffering, it is also reflected in the collective challenges we face as a society. The world today seems more divided than ever. There are increasing social and political tensions, environmental crises, and deep divides between individuals and communities. But rather than retreating into despair or cynicism, Nietzsche's philosophy offers us a path forward. It is in this very abyss of social and global challenges that humanity can find its greatest opportunity for transformation. Just as we must confront the darkness within ourselves, we must also confront the darkness within the world. And the only way to overcome this darkness is not through avoidance or denial, but through the creation of new values, new perspectives, and new ways of living. This leads us to a crucial point in understanding Nietzsche's philosophy. The abyss is not a place of ultimate destruction. Rather, it is a space of profound potential. The darkness that Nietzsche speaks of is not an end, but a beginning. It is the fertile soil from which new ideas, new values, and new ways of being can grow. The challenge is not to fear it, but to recognize it as the crucible in which we are forged. Nietzsche famously declared that God is dead. This declaration is often misunderstood, but it is crucial to understanding his philosophy. Nietzsche wasn't declaring that God, in a literal sense, had died. Rather, he was saying that the traditional religious frameworks that had given meaning to Western society were no longer viable in the modern world. This, in turn, created an existential crisis. Without a divine transcendent meaning, what was left? How would humanity navigate a world without inherent purpose? Nature's answer was that we must create our own meaning. We must become the authors of our own existence. This is the core of the Übermensch, the individual who creates values from within, without relying on external sources of meaning. In practical terms, this means that we must stop looking to others, whether it be society, religion, or culture, to define our purpose. We must look within. The abyss is not a place of ultimate meaninglessness. Rather, it is a place where we can discover and create meaning on our own terms. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, this inner freedom becomes our greatest source of strength. The ultimate challenge is not just to survive the abyss, but to transcend it. It is not just about facing our own inner darkness, but about transforming it into something life-affirming. As Nietzsche said, "Become who you are." This is the true purpose of gazing into the abyss, not to be consumed by it, but to use it as a catalyst for self-creation. So what does this mean for you in your own life? Where do you see the abyss? Where do you feel challenged, lost, or uncertain? It is in these moments that you have the greatest opportunity to discover your own potential. Do not shy away from your struggles or from the darkness that confronts you. Embrace it, use it, transform it. And remember, as Nietzsche would say, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. The abyss is not something to fear. It is a place where you can find your true strength, where you can create a life of purpose, and where you can rise above your limitations. In the end, it is not the abyss that defines you. It is how you choose to engage with it. It is how you choose to turn your struggles into something greater than yourself. As you reflect on this journey, ask yourself, what would it look like if I embraced my own darkness? What would it look like to confront the challenges in my life, not as obstacles to avoid, but as opportunities to grow? And perhaps most importantly, what kind of person could I become if I transformed my suffering into power? The abyss is not an end. It is a beginning. And through it, you have the power to create a life that transcends everything you once thought possible. Thanks for looking.